initiative or what
question.
Huh? Yes. I'm going to ask him the question. Muda no, he did. So I'm not a member though. And October 2006.
It's not the question.
I know. This is the introduction. Why wasn't there viable or significant follow-up after nearly 2 years now? I mean, what happened since I was wondering if the government or the leading party in the government always like ayam in terms of IT investment in the country, especially for Utara development. And there's also supply state with.
So the question is, why did the government do more in the past 2 years for IT?
Well, no, I mean, yeah, Penang State also in 2004 there hasn't been any follow-up since then in Penang Land. And there was another constitution to put, which is also under pressure. And for the YT from Pakatan Rakyat, TONY PUA and NAZMI, do you have any plan to rectify this extremely poor economic status of Bukit Penang and northern state, particularly Kedah, Pulau Kedah, Kelantan, all under PR control?
Okay, thanks.
Subsidies for Singapore cars? No, we can't have that. The question was actually directed to me, but just to add a quick point. Under Pakatan Rakyat government, can we continue to afford to do subsidies? No, I don't think we are talking about perpetuating subsidies. We're talking about implementing a holistic system, putting it in place first before subsidies are removed gradually. So there's a huge difference, okay, between perpetuating subsidies and putting in place policies, holistic, complete policies to make sure that there's a net for the people involved. And as for EPF, I'll just make a quick clarification. It's basically a grant to the EPF accounts, and it comes with complementary policies like, for example, cutting the contribution of the workers to EPF and so on. And for those who doesn't have EPF accounts, there's no better time to encourage people to sign up to EPF, to think of their rainy day. And if you actually give free cash in their EPF account, that cannot be better incentive for them to actually sign up to these accounts to take care of their future and retirement. So I think it's a good incentive as well to get all Malaysians signed up to EPF to look after their future. And for Bumiputera in Penang, the last question by the last gentleman, I think we want a policy that will benefit all the poor in the country. And it doesn't matter whether the poor is Bumiputera or Malay or Chinese. And if in Penang, the case is Bumiputera are the poorest and they constitute the overwhelming majority of the poor in Penang, then they will receive the most assistance. So whoever who is poor will receive the assistance, and of course, DAP being a new government in Penang, we will do our very, very best to show that our model works way better to improve the lot of the poor, including Bumiputera, compared to a policy that has been running for the past 30 years and has not been able to alleviate the status of the poorest in the country. Well, I just start to beg to differ with Tony. I think it's outlandish to say that the policy he was referring to, which is the new economic policy, has not benefited the poor at all. I mean, if you look at the poverty rate that has gone down from 50%, over 50% to less than 5% today, that's a clear indication that poverty eradication measures have worked. But the question was not about poverty eradication. The question was about Bumiputera participation in the ICT sector specifically. I'll come to that in a second. First question just now was about Singaporeans benefiting from subsidies. It's not about Singaporean cars getting fuel subsidy. The question was very specific. The question was, and he pointed out a very, very interesting structural problem with what is happening today, is that food goods and other goods being transported by Malaysian vehicles to Singapore are enjoying subsidies. Now that was one of the first things that we raised when there was a dialogue between UMNO Youth and the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs. We raised that. We said Singaporeans should not be getting subsidized food prices as a result of lower transportation costs because of the subsidized fuel that's coming from Malaysia. So that's something that the government plans to rectify. There's no reason why the subsidies should benefit the food prices for those who are consuming the food in Singapore. Now, coming back to the intervention just now about women participation in ICT specifically, I agree with you. It's a big structural problem, and we don't want to, of course, racialize or communalize this problem. But it so happens that women putras are finding it extremely difficult to penetrate into new economy sectors like ICT, like biotechnology. There are many reasons for this. Lack of access to capital, lack of expertise, lack of networking. So it's definitely something that we need to improve upon. Now, he specifically mentioned, the gentleman specifically mentioned something that was started about 2 years ago. We started an incubation program with MLab 2 years ago, and we've started to see some results. But unfortunately, this is not translated into companies being set up yet in Penang. But we've seen many, many more entrepreneurs coming through with new ideas, new business plans, and some of them succeed and some of them fail. As you know, in ICT, 1 out of 10 succeed. Tony was 1 out of 10. The rest of us fail. So it doesn't mean, take my hat off to you. But it means that you have to keep on trying, and assistance from the government must be there in terms of grant, training, matching, networking, etc., etc. Thanks.
Okay, first responding to my constituent about whether Pakatan Rakyat can continue to subsidize fuel in light of the global scenario where I think the days of low price oil has probably ended, although we will see some adjustments in the next coming months. Well, I think that contrary to what KHAIRY has said just now, I think if you look in totality of what Datuk Seri Ibrahim has been telling throughout his dramas, he has never memperbodohkan orang kampung. In fact, his dramas, if you look at it, it's very, there's a lot of points which goes to enlighten people on the issues. And I believe, if you look at what even Datuk Seri Ahmad said during the debate, he admitted that we cannot go on in the long term with a policy of simply subsidizing the fuel. But what we need is that in the meantime, while we lower the price of fuel, and we come up with a long-term policy to address this issue in its totality. And I think that's a very important point to make. But this sort of adjustments is what is affecting the people right now, and we need to minimize that effect on the ordinary relations.